Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Salaries. Who gets paid the big bucks? Who's making it? Well, it certainly aren't the politicians. They don't get paid very much. But the coach of Michigan, who is a terrific guy and a great coach, is reported to be drawing down this next year $10 million. He's the highest paid member of any academic society in the United States. But that is nothing compared to one of the hosts of Fox News Channel who had a fight with the former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, Megyn Kelly. She's reported to be asking for something, quote, north of $20 million a year for her service as host for, what, an hour, an evening or whatever she does on the Fox News Channel. And, man, that's stratospheric. But after that fight with Newt, I'm not sure that the audience is going to be there for her. I think a lot of people are turning off Mrs. Kelly or Miss Kelly, whatever. She's very charming, very articulate, but she said some nasty things about their hero, and that's probably not going to play. But the question is before us all, who's going to be the next president of the United States? Well, Donald Trump says the answer to that question could lie in the hands of evangelical voters. And he also says that everyone should remember what's at stake in this election, the Supreme Court. Our David Brody spoke to Trump on the campaign trail and his wife Melania in this exclusive interview.
The Trump family has a new place to stay on Pennsylvania Avenue. No, not that one. This is the new Trump International Hotel, with the presidential candidate taking credit for opening the doors under budget and ahead of schedule. He's hoping the accomplishment can translate to success on the campaign trail, but most national pollsters see trouble ahead for him. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton is making a play for traditional Republican states, a strategy that Trump tells CBN News the Democrat may want to rethink.
No, Hillary wants to run up the score on you. Democrats they might be a little cocky.
I don't think they're cocky anymore. I mean, now it's looking like we're leading Florida. Could be leading Florida big.
They're going to play in Arizona and Utah.
The new poll just came out.
Yeah.
I think we're doing very well in Arizona.
Okay.
I mean, we'll speak in 2 weeks and we'll see what happens.
Polls do show Trump possibly closing the gap. Campaign manager Kellyanne Conway tells CBN's Jenna Browder she's confident.
I believe that we will win. It's got, and I believe that that the country is calling, urging for true change, not just talking about it in polls. 75% of Americans now say that they want to take the country in a new and different direction. That's unmistakable. That's an unmistakable endorsement and, frankly, an unmistakable mandate.
If Trump hopes to pull this off, he's going to need one key ingredient and a lot of it. A source inside the Republican National Committee says it would take at least 80% of the evangelical vote to put him in the White House.
Is it about the base at this point to make sure evangelicals, who are a big part of the base, that they get out? Because do you believe evangelicals are the ones, they kind of brought you to the dance, if you will, and they're the ones that are going to get you over the top here?
Well, we're doing very well with the evangelicals, and if they vote, we're going to win the election. Had they voted 4 years ago, and they didn't, you would have had a different result in the election instead of having Obama, who has been catastrophic for evangelicals and a lot of the things that we stand for.
What is your message to those that are on the fence and aren't sure?
I just want the people to remember United States Supreme Court. Whether they love me or like me or don't like me, we're going to put great justices, pro-life justices. We're going to put Second Amendment justices. And I think for the evangelicals, it's so important that they get out and vote.
Trump's wife Melania clearly understands the connection between this voting bloc to her husband's chances at success.
We want to thank them to the support of my husband. We believe in them. We are standing with them, and we will be strong for them.
Melania Trump has also shown strength in dealing with a media that she says has it in for her husband.
We saw very dishonest and not fair reporting without checking facts, and it's really damaging and hurtful, and it's unfair.
To be sure, Donald Trump also adds fuel to the fire when he goes off script.
Who is the real Donald Trump in the sense that we've seen different versions appear on the campaign trail at times?
Well, whatever you see, that's what he is. He's a fighter. He's a best deal maker. He has days that he really feels that he needs to fight for himself, and that's how he will fight for the American people.
As the calendar turns toward November, this fight is coming to an end, and Hillary Clinton wants to finish strong.
You know, with 13 days left in this election, we cannot stop for a minute. No complacency.
You can bet Trump won't be complacent in these last days, and his team is looking above as the homestretch approaches.
What do you need prayer for?
Well, we always say health. Health is the most important, because if you have health, you could keep going, keep fighting.
I would say I would like them to pray for guidance and to pray for our country, because we need prayer now almost more than we've ever needed it before.
It's safe to say that a big prayer will go up when this race finally comes to an end. David Brody, CBN News.
Thanks, David. You know, this thing, these polls have been skewed. I can remember campaigns where the Republican was down 6, 7, 8 points a couple of days out, and all of a sudden things switched. But what I'm looking at here is the labor unions. They are turned off by the Keystone Pipeline, the refusal of the Obama administration to put maybe 20,000 steel workers to work, by taking on trade deals that have gutted the labor force. I mean, you go down the line. So labor, I don't think, is going to be one of the reliable arms of the Democrats. The African Americans certainly won't have the enthusiasm for Hillary that they did for Obama. And the millennials, I think, are going to go vote independent or stay home. So I think when it boils down to what's going to happen is the enthusiasm for the Trump people seems to be overwhelming. Everywhere you go, it's just unreal, the enthusiasm. And I think that's going to be huge. But what Trump is counting on is that the evangelical Christians in this nation, the number maybe as many as 100 million people, he wants to ask a group, he said, if you've got 100 million of them, how come you're not running the country? Well, that was a good question. Well, they don't do it because they haven't been smart and sophisticated, but I think the evangelicals now are very savvy, and they're going to be the margin of victory, according to these people. It's amazing. So you who consider yourself evangelical, the election is in your hand. Well, Trump is also, as he did in Charlotte yesterday, reaching out to African-American voters, offering a, quote, new deal for black America. Listen to this.
Thanks, Pat. Trump made that speech as he and his opponent, Hillary Clinton, are hitting battleground states in the closing days of the race. As Gary Lane reports, both candidates are reaching out to Americans who don't normally vote for their parties.
Campaigning in North Carolina, Trump reached out to African Americans.
Every African American citizen in this country is entitled to a government that puts their jobs, wages, and security first.
He asked them for the honor of their votes and the privilege to represent them as their president. In Florida, Hillary Clinton made an appeal to all voters, saying Americans are coming together at the end of this election season.
And not just Democrats, but Republicans and independents. And I want to thank all the Republicans and the independents who are here today, who are part of making our country better for everyone.
The latest release of leaked emails could mean more trouble for Clinton. This one from WikiLeaks shows Clinton aides expressing concern over her growing email problem. Center for American Progress President Neera Tanden writes, "Why didn't they get this stuff out like 18 months ago?" She goes on to say, "I guess I know the answer. They wanted to get away with it." Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta replies, "I guess most of that has to do with terrible decisions made pre-campaign, but a lot has to do with her instincts." Tanden acknowledges almost no one knows better than me that her instincts can be terrible. Clinton refuses comment on the WikiLeaks emails, and meanwhile, Donald Trump is still hitting the news that Obamacare faces double-digit price hikes next year.
Job-killing Obamacare is just one more way the system is rigged.
Gary Lane, CBN News.
Thanks, Gary. Pat, back to you.
Well, I think one of the keys is that from years of election way back when, after 8 years, the American people get tired of whoever's in power. It doesn't matter who it is, Republicans, Democrats, whoever. And they want to change. And so they change and get another group coming in for about 4 years, and then they go back and get another for another 8 years. Well, the Obama people have had their run, and now with all the stuff coming down on their heads, I mean, this failure of Obamacare is massive. It's going to hurt millions of American people. Wages are stagnating, and as many as, I think, 95% of the, or at least 95 million, excuse me, workers are either unemployed or underemployed. I mean, it's really pathetic what's happening. So there's going to be a demand for a shift, and they're just looking for somebody. And the Democrats have tried to portray Donald Trump as being just a crazy man. There isn't a possibility of him governing. But he's coming through, staying on message, giving some tremendous speeches, and offering a program very comprehensive on a number of issues. And I think with that in mind, people who are desiring change are going to, make their voices heard. I think it'll be a huge win for the party of change. But we'll see what happens. I mean, it's a week and a half out, but it's been an incredible, incredible election. Well, a long time ago, I was excoriated, I think that's a good word, for suggesting that we might want to take out Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, who had set himself up as a dictator. He took power in a coup that overthrew the civilian government, and then he installed what amounted to a military dictatorship. And he ruled with an iron hand, and he took what was one of the most prosperous countries in the world, with probably the biggest reserves of oil in the world, and has absolutely decimated it. Well, his successor is a guy named Maduro, and he's worse almost than Chavez. And the people in Venezuela are suffering unimaginable difficulties under the reign of a socialist government. That's what you get when you get state socialism. John has a report about what's happening.
Pat, tens of thousands of protesters filled the streets of the capital, Venezuela, and other major cities Wednesday. It was a show of force against socialist President Nicolas Maduro. People are angry after his allies blocked a recall effort against him. Protesters shouted, "Democracy, yes. Dictatorship, no." Many Venezuelans blame Maduro for the country's triple-digit inflation, terrible economy, and severe shortages of food, medicine, and other basic goods. Well, NATO is strengthening its defenses against Russia with the biggest military buildup in Eastern Europe since the Cold War. Britain said Wednesday they will send fighter jets to Romania next year, and the United States promised Poland troops, tanks, and artillery. NATO says these moves are a response to Russia's 330,000 troops on its western flank. Reuters reports NATO plans to send up to 4 battle groups with 4,000 troops early next year, backed by a rapid reaction force of 40,000. Defense Secretary Ash Carter, Pat, said it is a major sign of America's commitment to strengthening deterrence in Eastern Europe.
Well, I'm so glad it's overdue, but I'm so glad it's happening. Russia, when you're playing poker, there's such a thing as a bluff. You may have a busted straight and you bet like you've got a full house, and the other guy may believe you and he drops out. Well, that's what Putin has been doing. He's got a busted straight. He doesn't have a powerful country. He's got a bankrupt country and a very small military. The only thing he's got going for him is a huge nuclear armament. And he doesn't think he can, if he uses nuclear weapons, we have enough firepower to wipe Russia off the map. And he knows that. So it's a bluff. But he's getting away with it. He's getting away with it in Syria. He's getting away with it in the Crimea, getting away with it in Ukraine. And now it looks like NATO maybe say, we're going to call your bluff. But we hope that that doesn't lead to some kind of a war. But weakness incites war. I love what Reagan used to talk about, peace through strength. And Trump is picking up that mantra, that same word, peace through strength. You have peace when you have strength. You have war when you have weakness.